I'm not going to sugarcoat this. We are in a fight for our lives. The Khazarian mafia is now in a very desperate last-minute struggle to make sure that we never, ever escape the digital prison they're trying to build for us. Right now, Israel is trying to get American politicians to make it mandatory for to have 5-year jail sentences for people who criticize Israel. At the same time, they are installing face recognition software everywhere with cameras, and they will be able to identify you real time and arrest you for things you say or do. And it's not about crime. In one example, in the UK, a woman was arrested by 11 people who came in and while she was having a bath because of some text message she sent. This is just a private text message. This is not even public. And the reason why they're trying to crack down so much is because they are fighting for their lives. They know that this giant scam that they call a government is unraveling in real time. And this is what has been making us poor. I want to show you an example of how fake the government is. As I've written my reports with lots of evidence over the years, NASA stands for not a space agency. Now, in this clip, you can watch NASA astronaut Karen Nyborg explain how they fake, or show how they fake spaceflight. Take a look.
That's so cool. You are so much better of an astronaut, Paige, than those other fakes.
Thank you. And if you're hungry in space, gotta have your floating Fritos to munch on. So I don't want to give GMOs any publicity, but it's all we had hanging around. Yum, yum, yum.
So it's all true.
It's amazing, the zero gravity. It just everything just floats around. Suck my hair because I got a ponytail. And Toots brought some coral up from Vieques, from Puerto Rico.
Oh, very good. Yeah, let me see you push it up and down and around. Pull it back toward you. Oh, yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Wow.
Push it that way. Unbelievable.
Not bad, huh?
Where'd you get the $60 million a day to pull that off?
Cryptocurrency. I've been saving.
Oh, man.
She bought it. It was right.
Oh,
Oh, he doesn't back. Oh,
I'm back.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Not bad, huh?
Well, that reminds me of the brushing your teeth one where everything goes in slow-mo except for the environment. Did you see that
Exactly.
one?
Yes, I did. That was so awesome.
That was hilarious.
That was hilarious. What another complete bonehead mistake. Again.
Okay, it's kind of funny, except that literally it's a slush fund that milks us out of billions of dollars, which then goes to bribe people and to enrich these criminals. And that's just a small example. We have, for example, Jared Kushner somehow coming up with $100 billion to buy Warner Brothers. Jared Kushner belongs in jail, not in charge of $100 billion money created out of thin air. And it's only going to get worse. They're setting up death squads in the United States disguised as ICE agents, and they're rounding up dissidents as we speak. And they're trying to fire all patriots from the U.S. military and the enforcement agencies. And I have a special message for FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino. You need to get some men with guns and go and arrest Pam Bondi, okay? You're not just going to get anything done by complaining or threatening to resign. This is going to require men with guns. Remember, we're talking about a group of fake politicians who have been filmed torturing and murdering children in order to be blackmailed by the satanic government of Israel. and obey their orders. This is truth, and it requires men with guns. And we also need men with guns to go into the pharmaceutical companies and start arresting executives. Take a look at this clip about what they're putting in vaccines that they give to our children to understand why this is a life and death matter. They're trying to kill our children, and we need to arrest them. Watch this clip.
Uh-oh, there's boiled pig skin again. Chicken embryo protein, blood from the hearts of cow fetuses, DNA fragments from human fetuses, oil extracted from the liver of sharks, and proteins from worm ovaries, and of course DNA fragments from monkey kidneys. There's a famous scene in Macbeth with the three witches are stirring the brew. Eye of newt, toe of frog, lizard's leg, tongue of dog. Can't you just picture Gates and Offutt and Hotez stirring that brew? But let's get back to the modern vaccine ingredients. Formaldehyde, God knows you want to inject that into a baby. Polysorbate 80, that's linked to infertility. Potassium chloride, this one is my favorite, potassium chloride, because that is the final ingredient that is given by executioners when they do lethal injections. Swear to God. Now, obviously, the vaccinators use much smaller doses than the executioners, but it does make the point that parents have no effing idea what is in these products. And another one is sodium borate. That's used in pesticides. It's not allowed in food, but apparently it's okay for babies. Triton X100, that's used in spermicides. And until very recently, ethyl mercury. Thank you, Bobby Kennedy Jr. And wasn't it really fun and crazy that the media and other people, when Bobby took the step of, and the ACIP committee took the step of removing mercury from childhood vaccines, they were whining like, don't take away our mercury from our babies. They were so upset about the idea just because Bobby did it. It wouldn't matter, of course, what he does. It's got to be bad news.
How could the medical system have degenerated to that point? It's just mind-boggling that they would allow this to happen, and then they have all their paid shills in the media scream whenever they try to regulate vaccines. They this is all because of a satanic cult of about 1 million members. Many of them are concentrated in high positions, and that's what we need to target. Now, I've asked my military contacts why the military doesn't do something about it. And what the story I got was that anybody who was not obedient to the system and Israel never got promoted past colonel. So I would like to suggest that Colonel Douglas McGregor and his buddies start networking. And the key to doing this is to convince the military police that their commander-in-chief has been replaced by a fraud. Take a look at the Trump in this clip threatening the president of Colombia.
Colombia is producing a lot of drugs. They have cocaine factories that they make cocaine, as you know, and they sell it right into the United States. So he better wise up, or he'll be next. He'll be next, too. And I hope he's listening. He's going to be next. Yes.
That is obviously not Donald Trump. This is a Zionist fake who has been put in his place, and arresting him is your duty if you're in the military police. And we need to end this nightmare because they're turning up the screws, and they're really gonna try very hard to kill dissident journalists and dissident citizens and everybody else they can. And we need a mass uprising, and it is happening. And I ask people to take personal action. If you see one of these Satanist, Zionist puppets in public, confront them. Look what they did to Kristi Noem of the Israeli Department of Homeland Security.
Someone who uses a baby as a political tool while taking babies away from the family. You cannot use a baby as a political tool while you take away the rights of families. How dare you? How dare you? How dare you? How dare you? You are holding a baby. How dare you? You're holding a child and separate children from their families. You're separating them. You are in families. You should have shame. 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 You know shame.
All over the country.
You are concentration camps. You are the modern day SS. You are the Gestapo. Shame on you. Shame on you for leaving a baby at the top. Shame on you. Shame on you for losing a baby. I should separate families. Shame on you. Shame on you. You can't use these babies as political toys. You can't use them as political toys.
Okay, that's what should happen every time these people appear in public. Better still is if you can arrest them, you know, make a citizen's arrest, but that would require men with guns. Again, we need the agencies and the military to understand that the people at the top are criminals and they're trying to create a digital prison. An example of this was the Chabad death cult. Remember, they want to kill 90% of humanity and enslave the rest. It's in their writings. They just gave a reward to the Peter Thiel's company Palantir for facial recognition software because this allows them, gives them the potential to turn the entire Western world into a huge slave camp. And that's what they're trying to do. The Swiss government rejected Palantir because they realized that this was going to turn the Swiss people into the puppets of Israel. And Israel itself needs to be dealt with. That's the heart of the beast. And, you know, we're asking the Turkish to send in their military and clean that place up. Now, I'll give you a list of some names of people who, if we arrest them publicly, this nightmare should end. We've got Larry Fink, he should go. Jared Kushner, Ursula von der Leyen, Brigitte Macron, who my French intelligence sources tell me is actually Jean-Michel de Rothschild, Friedrich Merz of Germany, Keir Starmer in the UK, and, you know, the usual stuff. Of course, Benjamin Netanyahu has to be arrested. If we can get rid of these people, we can end this nightmare. And the other thing people do need to understand is no matter how grim the situation looks, this is confined to the West, and the West is headed for bankruptcy. There's no way they can avoid it. China just announced $1 trillion trade surplus. And that's based on real things. That's, you know, computers and televisions being put into boxes and shipped around the world. This is not hallucinatory numbers created on stock markets that don't actually have a basis in reality. And the West has some payments coming due, which they're not going to be able to make. So, for example, my French intelligence sources tell me that the EU and France have a whole bunch of bonds coming due by March, and they don't have the money to pay for it, which is why they're now talking about seizing Russian money that they have illegally frozen. But that's, even if they seize that money, it's going to be a temporary stopgap because they just don't have the real economy to back up all their numbers and their bank computers. The same with the United States. These tariffs are bringing in less than a tenth of what the United States government needs. And I have asked the Chinese to please not finance this criminal circus anymore. We need to end this, and the West needs to start with a jubilee, cancel all the debt slavery, end it all, and then put really competent people in charge of economic planning and have them do it on behalf of the people and the elected representatives of the people. But in order to be able to have the elected representatives really represent the people, of course, we're going to need to take away control of the corporate media from these criminals so that people can get accurate information. At the same time, we have to ban corporate donations and, you know, money being used to control politicians. In other words, temporarily, we're going to need a military government to arrest all these blackmailed and bribed criminals, and then to restore freedom of the press before we can have real elections, and then we can have people who actually represent Americans, which is not what we have in politics now. And then we can start building the kind of future that people want. So the current young generation can afford a house, which they can't now. And again, I think it's probably going to be that 18 to 34-year-old generation that's going to have to take action, because the baby boomers, too many of them are brainwashed and bribed, and they're not going to be able to take action. So It's going to be up to the young people, but I do hope that things are going to happen. But we all need to push. This is a dangerous time now. They are desperate, cornered animals, and they're trying everything they can to make sure that we never ever escape from the digital prison they're building. For example, the fake Trump is just saying states cannot regulate AI because they want to use these huge data centers and face recognition so they can put us under complete mental control before they themselves end up facing war crimes trials. And let's not sugarcoat it. They are mass murderers. They're pretending that they didn't kill 20 million people with vaccines. They did. They're trying to pretend that they didn't murder 2 million Ukrainian men with a fake mercenary company they called Russian, which wasn't. And this was to depopulate that country. This is a genocide. And of course, what's happening in Gaza. And then you have this reality TV guy, Pete Hegseth, pretending he's in charge of the military. He's not. He's not competent to be, and he needs to be arrested along with all the other people. So it's time to take action, folks. But even if you don't, I guarantee you this whole thing will implode. The rest of the world has already been liberated, and I don't see how they're going to be able to kick the can down the road much past maybe mid 2026 at the most. That's what the experts say, looking at the finances, and hopefully it'll all end sooner. But we need to take action. Okay, well that's what I have to say for myself today. Now I'd like to answer questions from readers and viewers.
Hi, Ben. We have our first question for today. You said that the Macrons were in China. Why do you believe that they were not picked up then and there? What are your thoughts?
Well, the Chinese actually obey international law, and they are formally the head of state of France and his wife, supposedly. So the Chinese respect international law, but at the same time, they made it clear they're not going to, provide these people with the money they came begging for, and that'll end it for that regime in France because they are bankrupt. They've lost the ability to steal resources from Africa, and without that, they're going to have to declare bankruptcy and then restructure everything. But what I'm hearing from my French sources is that there's going to be some kind of real regime change. It's not going to be peaceful, and it's going to be violent, and it's going to involve the military. So that's what's going to probably happen in France and probably the rest of the G7. Next question.
Evan, we haven't heard a whole lot about Palestine recently and the Israel invasion. Can you shed a little light about what is going on there right now?
Again, this is a last-minute attempt by these criminals to have a state completely dominated only by their ethnic group, and they want to murder everyone else so that they can have a place where they can continue their transnational crime, their pedophilia, and everything else. And we need Egypt and we need Turkey to go in with their armies and clean that place up and replace it with the multi-religious, multi-ethnic state of Judea. And I know there's support across the region for that, and it's time to do it. But the reason I don't follow the situation with Judea or Palestine closely is because it's an endless recurring loop of the same story over and over and over again. The same with the Ukraine. They say, "Oh, we're going to have peace." No, we're not. We're going to have peace. No, we're not. They're turning in circles, and it's time to step in and end that turn. Next question.
Hi, Ben. When the Trump administration bombs the boat from Venezuela, do you believe that they were actually drug smugglers on that boat, or was this some sort of show of force?
They may or may not have been drug smugglers, but it was still a show of force. And even if they were drug smugglers, that's not a justification for extrajudicial killing under international military law. That was a war crime, especially when you have it's in the U.S. Legal manual. When you have two people floating, helpless, shipwrecked, unable to be a combatant, and you order their deaths, that is actually punishable by death under military law, and Pete Hegseth should face a firing squad for that. And that should then wake up all the other generals to the fact that they are sworn to obey the law and the Constitution, which a lot of them seem to have forgotten. Next question.
Speaking of Hegseth, what are your thoughts in regards to the White House changing his position from Secretary of Defense to Secretary of War? What's really the point of this?
The point is that they are bankrupt and they're threatening war. They're threatening killing. They're threatening mayhem in some kind of attempt to steal money. Although, to be honest, calling it Ministry of War is actually more honest. That's what they called it during World War II. And, right now, the way it's been since World War II, it's been an aggressor around the world. They have been waging war everywhere on behalf of people who don't have America's best interests at heart. So, at least they're being honest about calling it Department of War, but we really should have a Department of Defense whose only job should be to defend the American people, not go around stealing oil for the Zionist oligarchs as they do now. Next question.
Hi, Ben. Why are the White Hats waiting to arrest these fake actors? What is the purpose for the wait? Do they not have the authority, or is it in regards to their ability?
I think that they're so used to obeying orders that they've been they're like being deer frozen in the headlights. They don't know what to do, and especially since the Obama regime, only really dumb people have been promoted to the top. So it's going to have to be sold by the colonels, the people who actually do the real fighting, and not the armchair generals. I think that's what has to happen. Next question.
Ben, we have our last question for today. I think we're starting to see the upper limits of inflation and public unrest before we hit a breaking point in the United States and many other parts of the world. Do you expect a national or even global market crash or events of proportionate catastrophe to occur within the near future?
Well, it's easy to say there's a bubble. It's hard to say when it's going to pop, But clearly the stock market is way out of touch with any, sort of reality. So when you have Tesla, who's losing market share and whose products are now considered inferior, being worth more than all the other car companies in the world combined. That's just not true. It's fake. Same with all these AI companies, everything else. But the good thing is that the stock market isn't reality, okay? These are just numbers on computers. Even if it crashes and goes to zero, there will still be the same amount of houses, factories, farms, people, knowledge. And personally, I think they should just unplug all the financial system computers and we need to reboot. And start with the elimination of all debt, to end debt slavery, and then get people back to work, working on behalf of the United States and the world and the people, and not on behalf of satanic pedophiles, which is the case now. So I think there should be a controlled implosion of the stock market, and then it needs to be restored to its traditional function of actually assigning value based on traditional metrics. It's no longer the case. Now it's just people with money printing machines using the stock market to launder money to their friends. And that's why the United States real economy is losing to China big time. And if we don't improve our systems of economic governance, we are all going to be working for the Chinese. It's already happening. And it's going to get worse unless we start fixing the real economy and getting out of this virtual fake financialized economy. It's broken. Okay, as an example, you have to have a 50-year mortgage to buy a house, and you spend the first 25 years just paying interest, and you end up paying $1.4 million for a $400,000 house. That house should only cost $10,000, and some kid in his 20s should be able to afford it. That's the sort of system we need. Okay, well, that's what I have to say for myself today, and I hope to see you again next week.